Godzilla. It's a series fractured by timelines, licensing, and eras. But no matter what movie you're watching, you can always count on some quality kaiju. You see, the monsters in Godzilla are special. They're not like monsters in other movies. They're intelligent creatures, and they were done so very deliberately. They wanted them to be intelligent. They can have complicated thoughts and form complicated relationships with their fellow kaiju. They can even bear and raise children. But children take a pair to make, and if these monsters are as intelligent as they seem, it isn't too far to say that they would develop romantic relationships with each other. But if we accept that they develop romantic relationships, the question then becomes, who's the best at romance and who's the worst at romance? Someone should figure that out. Fortunately, there isn't really a way to calculate how dateable someone is or how good they are at romance. But we can get pretty damn close. So in my opinion, there are two variables for dateability: personality and emotional availability. And I put these onto a compass chart. So the x-axis is personality. And if you're over to the left, that means you're more dull, you're more boring. If you're over to the right, then that means you're kind of creepy. But if you're in the middle, good personality. The y-axis is emotional availability. If you're high up, that means that you're not ready for a relationship. You're too shut off from the world. You can't emotionally accept another person into your life. But if you're too far down, that means you'd be too clingy. You're too emotional. Like, just back off, you know? Okay, so before we start, there are a couple of rules. First of all, the monster must appear in a Godzilla movie, not just a movie that's canon to the Godzilla universe. So no mangas and no Mothra solo films. Second of all, no mechs. Robots that are piloted with their own AI are fine, but anything piloted by a human does not count for this. Rule number 3. Different iterations of monsters are okay from different Godzilla series, but they must be significantly different to be included on the list. And number 4, no iterations of monsters from Godzilla Final Wars. This was a big 50th anniversary mashup movie with basically everyone Godzilla has ever fought. So if I included it, we would be here all day. Now, at this point, the question on your mind is probably why? Why am I using this chart to rank Godzilla monsters? And the real reason why is because I just want to show how flexible this kind of rating for dateability is. So I chose the least dateable thing I could think of, Godzilla monsters. So there's a reason that it's not just people. People would be too easy. Kaiju? It's interesting. Quick note before we get started, I'll be using terms like Showa, Heisei, Millennium, Reiwa, and Monsterverse in this video, but that's just different eras of Godzilla, like different series in time. Alright, so we're going to be starting with the top left. These are monsters with dull personalities and low emotional availability. You don't want to date them, and they don't want to date you. First up is GMK Godzilla. Now, this Godzilla is different from other Godzillas because he's actually the physical manifestation of the souls of everyone killed by Japan in World War II. That's a lot of baggage and also a lot of personalities to measure, so I just gave him an average personality and as much baggage as possible. Giant Condor! It's a condor, except he's giant. Now, he's famous for appearing in the worst fight of the series, where you can barely see him. I'm choosing to interpret that as not wanting to be seen, instead of choosing to interpret it as bad filmmaking. Next up, bottom left. This is low personality and high emotional availability. You could settle for these kaiju, but deep down, you know you could do a lot better. First up, the original Godzilla. He may be 40 feet tall, but compared to everyone else, he's kind of a manlet at that height, and he's also super depressed. Next up is Showa Rodan. Now, I hate to do him dirty like this, but when you think about it, Showa Rodan's kind of basic. His favorite show is probably The Office, and his favorite song is Bohemian Rhapsody, but maybe that's just my opinion, so that's why we asked a few people what they thought of Showa Rodan. Showa Rodan, would you date this monster?
Is it like a bird?
It's like a pterodactyl kind of thing.
I'm calling it a bird. I like it. That's my
Like
favorite
it?
one.
You like it?
Yeah.
Showa Rodan, yes or no?
No, no way.
Well, maybe if you have like someone who's already all out there, they need someone who's kind of more chill, kind of laid back, so you don't have to insult them.
What do you think is holding this monster back romantically?
No hands. He doesn't have any hands, and maybe that's an issue.
If they find the right, what even is it?
Next up is Shin Godzilla. You might think Shin Godzilla is kind of like a vengeful god, but in reality it's just kind of big and clumsy. He only attacks things twice, and that's after he's been attacked like 3 times. Shin Godzilla is like that character in a slice of life anime who runs to school and still has their breakfast in their mouth. Would you date this monster?
I'll say yeah for this one too.
Serious?
Yeah.
Do you think they'd be a good partner?
Yeah, because I think they look more unique, like the tail, whatever the spikes are in the back. Sure, why not?
This is Shin Godzilla, the newest Japanese Godzilla. Would you date this monster?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah?
I mean, he's a pretty good looking monster if I do say so myself.
This one.
What is this? Just explain this version.
It's the newest Japanese Godzilla. Some of its flesh is exposed, so it just doesn't have skin in some places, So, yes or no? No? Do you think they'd be a good partner?
If he can, not kill me, then yeah, probably. I think we would probably get along, just by the fact that he's not killing me.
Next up is overwhelming personality and high emotional availability. These are monsters that when you tell them that you can talk later, they'll start stalking you until you're free. So I debated putting in Biollante or not putting in Biollante because she is part human in like her soul, but I decided to do it anyways. Now, another reason I didn't want to do her is because it's kind of a complicated situation. Just for example, here's her personality section from the Godzilla website Wikizilla. The consciousness of Erika Shinigami, the deceased daughter of Genshiro Shinigami, who spliced her cells into the rolls that became Biollante out of a desire to preserve his daughter's spirit. His consciousness had been suppressed by Biollante's Godzilla side. According to the psychic Miki Saguse, as Godzilla did not express any hostility to her beforehand. After being attacked repeatedly, Godzilla became hostile toward Biollante, who was forced to fight defensively against his onslaught. In her first plant beast form, the anti-nuclear energy bacteria took effect and weakened him. As Biollante broke apart into energy spores to retreat, Miki could hear Erika's consciousness instead of the monster again, remarking that Biollante had said thank you to the onlooking humans. But basically, if you didn't get all that, which I don't blame you, Biollante is a girl whose soul got put into a flower that then got Godzilla cells added to it. And that's not a good mix for anyone, let alone a relationship, so down there you go. This is Biollante. It's the big plant one. So, would you date this monster?
No, it's just, that's a lot of teeth.
Okay, so I have to clarify it. In the picture here, it's the one on the left, Biollante. So, would you date this monster?
Like the alligator looking one?
Yeah.
Okay, he has a lot of teeth. I don't know if that's something that I necessarily need in my life, but he's definitely better than the second one, so in comparison to that, yeah.
It's the big plant one. What if I told you it has a human's soul in it, like a girl's soul? Does that change anything?
Possibly, yeah.
There you go. You're the second person to mention the teeth. I guess that is a big break. Do you think they'd be a good partner, just in general?
Well, it depends. Like, the Japanese girl whose, like, soul is trapped in her, is she cute?
She's kind of cute.
I don't know, maybe. Like, maybe the girl, but I don't think the monster.
Next up is Space Godzilla. Now, he was created when Godzilla cells went into space and combined with some crystals. So you'd think that he would just be Godzilla with crystals on his shoulders and that would be his personality, but no, he's just kind of like a jerk. He's the first monster to emotionally attack Godzilla. He creates crystals and kidnaps his son and tries to infect the entire world. I think he's just lonely. Next, we're on to the top right. Overwhelming personality and low emotional availability. These are the psychopaths of the Godzilla universe. First up, Showa King Kong. Showa King Kong is kind of like a nice guy who gets mad when women don't want to date him, even though he's so nice, and they'd rather date Chads like Giant Condor. Next up is Showa King Ghidorah. Now, Showa King Ghidorah is kind of like a Chad, you know, but at the same time, he kind of shuts himself off from the world. Maybe he's scared people judge his appearance because he has no arms and he constantly loses in battles. Or maybe he's just a giant gold space dragon that wants to kill everyone. Either way, he goes there. Next is Hedorah. Now, Hedorah is literally garbage. That isn't like my opinion on him. He's a fan favorite. I love him, but he's just actual garbage and pollution. One, he's my spirit animal. Second of all, he goes all the way up there. Heisei Ghidorah. He's interesting because he actually starts as free, smaller Dorads, which are like little animal things, but then like he turns into the giant golden space dragon, right? So he's kind of like that guy that in high school that you expect to do like really good, but then like 10 years later you realize he's selling heroin behind the Wendy's. Destroya. He's kind of like a crustacean monster who was created by the weapon that destroyed the original Godzilla. His personality section on Wikizilla says, unlike monsters that kill and destroy unintentionally and act only out of instinct or while under mind control, Destroya seems fully aware of the death and destruction he causes and takes pleasure in causing it. His flavor text in the game Godzilla Unleashed says, Destroya seeks nothing else than the total annihilation of all forms in existence. Megalon is a giant beetle with drills on his hand. This is the same movie franchise. I debated putting him in the quirky section because, you know, giant beetle with drills on his hand, but yeah, I gotta put him up here if I'm being honest. Would you date this monster?
That's the question. Can I see?
Yeah, you can see.
Show me a second picture so I have something to compare to.
I couldn't find any better pictures.
No, I mean of someone else.
Oh, someone else? Here is the second monster ahead of time.
Okay, I picked the first one.
Pick the first.
Yeah, okay, I would date the first.
Destroya. So, would you date this monster?
What kind of question is this?
Yes and no.
Would I? No.
No? That monster is Destroya. Now, would you date that monster?
I gotta say no, just because I don't think we'd get along, you know? Just like our chemistry wouldn't work, and she's like way out of my league, and I don't know, man, like...
What do you think is holding this monster back romantically?
Commitment issues, probably, you know, having them around longer than 5 minutes before killing you, you know, to me, I don't know a lot about this monster, but...
Before we move on to the final quirky section, I have to talk about an outlier to the chart. Orga, he takes on the organism's traits that he tries to like take over. So really you could just put him wherever, whoever he's dating, put him there. But since I don't know who he's dating, he's just over here. Finally, the moment you've been waiting for, the quirky category. These are monsters who will support you, but also make you want to support them. Starting with Gabara. The only reason Gabara made it into this category is because his only purpose in life is to bully Godzilla's son Manila. And that's a cause I can totally get behind. Like, if you were with him, I feel like you could go out and bully Manila together. And, you know, that's what I want. Next is Heisei Rodan. This is different from Show Rodan because he's actually like cool. Godzilla dies and Fire Rodan actually just like resurrects him. Fire Rodan, like, Rodan went from like basic to bro. I like that. Now, this category technically isn't over. There is one Kaiju left to cover. I'm kind of nervous to do it because I don't know if I can give him the treatment that he deserves. So without further ado, the only Kaiju to score a perfect score. The absolute Chad Jet Jaguar. He is the most dateable person in this universe. If you are not attracted to him, either you don't like men or you're an insane person. Exhibit A, his theme song. He has a theme song with words in it. Exhibit B, his personality. His sense of justice is so strong that he can grow in size. He wasn't designed to grow in size because he is a robot with AI, but he just grows in size because he wants to. Jet Jaguar. You already looked at this one.
Oh yeah.
Would you date?
No, never.
It's a very creative way to come out of the closet.
I don't.
This next monster is Jet Jaguar, and for the first question, I do have to say there is a correct answer. Would you date this monster?
Absolutely. He looks like when Squidward was really handsome. He's just, very quirky.
I date that. What even is that? What is this? It's a giant robot named Jet Jaguar.
No, it's gonna be a hard no for me.
What do you think is holding him back romantically?
Just not my style, the silhouette, the colors, everything just doesn't work for me.
Do you think there is anything holding him back romantically?
Probably not, judging by the fact that he's a robot. He probably doesn't have any human issues, like commitment issues or anything like that. So I'd say I'd be pretty stable.
Jet Jaguar is the peak physical form. He's Jet Jaguar.